morning, everybody. Toast to you and all you do. I hope you're having a fantastic morning. It is the day after Samhain or Halloween. I hope that you all had a fantastic Halloween. It's finally starting to feel a little cold here, but it has been unseasonably warm, to where we didn't even like. I wore a sweater to go trick or treating last night, which was crazy. I was disappointed. There were not very many houses out for trick or treating, and I think next year I am going to make little cards. I'm going to put them on everybody's doors, and I'm going to say, we will be trick or treating. We encourage all the kids to come out and trick or treat. Let's have a nice, happy, safe Halloween with everybody out enjoying the community. Because that's what it's about. It's about getting out. It was cute. We were trick or treating. My daughter was like, Mom, there's already somebody at the door. I was like, it's okay. That's what Halloween is all about. That's what this time of year is all about, is getting together as a community. You can all go to the door together. You don't have to know each other. It's fun. And then it was funny because we kept going to houses that they had their lights on and nobody answered the door. And I'm a particularly loud person with incredibly loud children. And every time it would happen, we would walk away from the door. My kids would be like, I don't think anybody's home. And I'd be like, that's fine. We're going to knock on every door that has their light on because it's Halloween and it's time to trick or treat. And you would see lights on the block go off. Like, don't come to our house for time. The Ring doorbells were also really funny if people didn't answer their door, because then my youngest would like sing and dance and like make funny faces at their cameras. So I'm sure they all got a big kick out of that. My sisters were like, your kids are going to be on the internet. It's going to go viral. Some random kid dancing on the internet, people's porches. So it was fun regardless. We did really well trick or treating. We didn't have to go very far to fill our pillowcase because there weren't very many trick or treaters. So everybody was like giving out handfuls of candy. It was cute, but it was fun. Uh, and really, that's what this is about: is getting out in the community and honoring our lives. And we honor our lives by also honoring the dead. So a big part of our celebration yesterday was we take out, I have a picture frame that I keep, and it has all of our loved ones who have passed. And we unfortunately had to add a couple people this year. And so, but we always go through it and we talk about each one of the people in the picture and about our great grandparents and about where they came from and something cool about them, a memory, just something to share. And we light a candle and the kids get to light incense throughout the day, which my house, at the end of the day, my husband was like, can we like put out the incense and open some windows for a second? Like it's getting really, it's really heavy in here. Um, but and we just honor them and we talk about them throughout the day. We talk about our history. We talk about where we came from. And, because we wouldn't be here in this place, in this world. I mean, not just us individually, but us collectively, like as a whole, if we didn't have our ancestors who worked hard and did the things that they did and made the mistakes that they made and learned from them and helped to teach the next generation. And if we forget those lessons and we don't talk about our history or where we came from, we definitely end up repeating it. And you see this again and again. And especially in places in the world where there are a lot of misinformation is taught, you see those places making the same mistakes. And I mean, even here in the United States and in Western cultures, it's not just in countries that we could list. Everybody right now is thinking of one, I'm sure, where you're like, oh yeah, they do that all the time. Constantly in a state of civil war. And a big part of that is not learning from our past, is not talking about our history, is not openly communicating. I think it's crazy that there are people out there that don't know about the Holocaust or who are like, that didn't happen. Like, that is insane to me. Like, it's upsetting and it's insane. And there is so much of history that is that way. I could really go into some horrific things. I'm glad that here in Colorado, there is a big push to rename a lot of our mountains and monuments, natural monuments. We recently renamed Squaw Mountain, thank God, because what a stupid name for a mountain. They're renaming Pikes Peak. so that it will not be named after Jebediah Pike, um, because the honest history of these people is not as great as we would like to believe it is. And honestly, most people don't even know who Jebediah Pike is. He was a general, he was an explorer, he helped to expand the western frontier. He also was a savage commander of his army and would do vulgar, disrespectful, just downright dirty things, killing women and children. It was just not, he's not a good person. Um, and we shouldn't have a monument named after him. But we should still continue to talk about these things. It's not something that should be shushed under the rug. Just because we're renaming it doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. It should be, I can't remember what they're calling it. We call it Grandmother Mountain, is what we've always called it in my family since I was a little kid. We have Grandmother Mountain, and then there's the cousins, which are the mountains up closer to Fort Collins, um, which honestly I don't even know what their real names are. That's how much we just don't use them. But regardless, it should still say, Grandmother Mountain, formerly known as Pikes Peak. And we don't say that anymore because this is the history of Jebediah Pike, and this is the history of the frontier, and this is the way that the West was won. It was not a fair battle by any means, and it was fought dirty, and this is something that should be discussed. It's still being fought dirty, and there are still people who are marginalized and minimalized and hushed and taken advantage of because we don't talk about the reality of this situation. We just continue to live with this miscommunication. So, really, a big part of this time of year is to honor our ancestors by being honest and open and talking about them. I mean, in my own heritage, I have an ancestor who came across from Ireland and Scotland. There's some wishy-washy on which part of the line our family comes from. But they came to this country because they couldn't live there anymore because of that wishy-washy line thing. And my grandfather, several generations above, married a Native American. And however we would like to fantasize and idealize that he rescued her from her world of whatever and brought her into his, I'm sure it was not as beautiful as we would like to imagine. So my grandmother, they were married their whole lives, but we don't know. We just don't know. And it has been glorified by some of the generations of like, oh no, we saved her and she became whitewashed, I guess is what we would call it. And I guess it's not PC, but that's pretty much how it worked out. But the reality, that we don't know that reality, but we can't hush that. We can't not talk about it. And when my kids ask about it, and they're like, my oldest is very much into history and does know what the Holocaust is. I have to actually refrain her from learning about the Holocaust because I feel like it's pretty graphic, and we just take it little bits at a time. She's 11, so we'll just a little bit. That's kind of graphic because it was a horrible thing that happened. But when she asked about it, I said, I can't say that she was willingly married to, him, and that was like a mutual love. Maybe it grew into that. Maybe it didn't. I pray and I hope, and maybe I'll call to my ancestor and we'll talk about it, and she can tell me. Who knows? But regardless, we still openly talk about it, and we communicate about it, and we learn from those lessons so that we don't recreate those. And if we as a whole, as a society, as a collective did this, it would be much better for our future generations. We wouldn't have people who like, what's the Holocaust? I really didn't believe it was true, but my husband and I watched several of the YouTube reporter people who just go around and interview random people and ask them questions. It's really sad how many times they say something about the Holocaust and and people don't know what it was. Like, it's depressing. But so I encourage everybody to go out and read a book about history, to think about their history, to ask their grandparents or their parents where they came from, and you know, find someone in your family who can talk to you, look through pictures. Even if you have to go as far as paying for one of them, I wouldn't encourage that because I wouldn't do it. So, but if you are thus motivated, I encourage that. Find out your history, know where you came from, know the history of the land that you walk on. We have a unique revelation in our society in more modern times because we no longer live on the same land for generations and generations and generations. We're no longer in the same place. Before modern society, there were times, it was normal for 3, 4 generations to live in the same place or to migrate through the same places. There's still places in the world where that's very true. But here in the United States, in a lot of Western society, and I mean, as a whole, we've just have moved and migrated, and many people are not on the soil in which their family has been on for hundreds of years. But that doesn't mean you don't have a connection to this soil. I put my hands in the soil. I work with the soil. I work with the dirt. I work with the energies that are buried here. I live with these energies. And so you need to know. We researched the Native Americans who were here on this land before white people. We researched the colonizers. We um, we just learn about this land and about the energies and the spirits here in order to connect with that and to honor that. I walk on the same land that they walked on, and that's a beautiful thing. That's an amazing connection to think that the same land that I farm and grow my vegetables in here and we grow our loofahs in over there is the same land that hundreds of years ago other people did the same thing for. They cultivated, they gathered, they hunted on, they lived off of this land. And connecting with that energy really helps to connect with the collective and the energy as a whole. And so as we remember our ancestors at this time of year, we also have to remember the people who came before us on the lands that we walk on, and we have to honor that. I've had questions from other community leaders who say, hey, we're discussing this topic, and what is your take on it about, can you only honor the ancestors that you like, so my ancestors are Welsh and Scottish / Irish. So honoring those energies am I only allowed to honor those ancestors? And I say, well, first of all, any ancestor, regardless if it's yours or not, is probably going to be like, thank you for thinking of me. I really appreciate that. So I don't think that any ancestor or any divine energy or any energy at all is going to be like, you're not allowed to worship me, because that is a human misconception that we're taught. And the energies, they don't see it like that. They don't have that complex. They just are. They are there. They are the beings. They are the energy. And anytime they are connected with, they feel honored and grateful for that connection and will share in that energy with you. That's why we make offerings. That's why we make these connections, because we are connecting with this energy. And this energy also flows through you. I mean, you think about it. The same water that I drink is the same water that was drank by the people who lived on this land. And it's kind of crazy to think about it in this manner because it's really gross. But the reality is, energy cannot be created or destroyed. Water is not created or destroyed. It is only transformed into other things, and then it is remade back into that water, and it is put back into the earth, and then it is used for future generations. The same ice and water and earth that was there when the dinosaurs is still here now. It has just either transformed or been made into something new or been recycled over and over and over again. And we are still consuming these same resources. And in that connection, it's all the same energy that we're all connecting with. And so the more connections that you make and the more connected you are, the more in tune with that energy you will feel and become. It won't be so flustering through the seasons or when it's time to connect the full moon. A lot of, I would say like everyone is affected by the moon cycles, but whether they think about it or not, in one way or another, scientifically, spiritually, emotionally, all of these things, because that moon is that much of an impact on our daily lives. But we don't always think about that connection. And so people don't realize, like, oh, the full moon is coming and they might have this heightened energy or they might feel bigger. You know, water expands as the moon gets bigger, and we are 75% water. And however, it's not something that we can have, not can, because I imagine if we tried real hard, because we can do it in leaves, we can do it in plants, you can see a lunar gestation of the plant, and that kind of just like the ocean does. And so in people, I imagine that that is also happening. And so as that energy expands inside ourselves in connection with the moon, we feel that. And the more in tune you are with that energy, the more normal that cycle feels and the less disruptive it is in your world. But if you are not in any way in tune with it, I see those people having the highest effect by it because they don't understand. They can't pinpoint, they can't recognize, they don't even know. It's not even a thought. They just have this grander energy suddenly. No, I don't know what to do with this. And so they just go with it. And so you do see that. Statistically, you see more hospitalized, more ER visits, more accidents, more domestic disturbances, just all kinds of different things happen because this energy is so grand. And when you connect with that and you focus that and you learn to kind of work with that energy, you in turn can move your cycle in order to productively connect with that energy. And this goes with all energy. So as we connect with our ancestors and we connect with, the energy of the land and the energy of the sun and the moon and all of those things, it will help you to, have this nice, stable, productive energy that can help you to achieve the goals that you're trying to do. It can help you raise to that higher level of spirituality, that better connection, that all of your goals will work better. The more I find I'm in tune with the earth and the earth cycles, and the less that I think, oh, I have to do it on this cycle because that's the calendar dates. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. You have to listen to the earth. You have to see the weather. I mean, it's warm for Colorado right now. It is not snowing. It's November 1st and there's no snow. It has not snowed in where I live yet. And that's crazy. I'm really not looking forward to when my birthday comes because it means it's probably going to snow a lot because it hasn't snowed yet. But ironically, the mountains, they're already opening skiing. Last weekend they got dumped on and they have a ton of snow and they were able to make more snow because there's so much moisture in the air up there. So they're just pumping out skiing already. And it's their earliest season of opening winter park ever in like 50 years. It's crazy. So the cycles of the energy are different everywhere you walk, every place that we live, and that's why it's important to really focus on the energy around you, the energy of you, and connect with all of that. And that's going to help through this introspective journey, which is funny. So I just spent 19 minutes talking about that energy. So it's very important to have to share this information. Because we are transitioning into this dark time as we leave Samhain and we enter into this dark time right now. The goddess and the maternal energy is ripe with child. And if you've ever talked to a woman who's 9 months pregnant, she doesn't want anything to do with you. And she's in her final moments of gestation. And that is where that maternal energy is. And so it's kind of dormant. And we also have the God's energy, who he has now passed. His energy is transitioning from life into death, and he's going to spend some time in the underworld, in the darkness, a way to regenerate and rejuvenate, to come back. And so we have this 40 days in the year cycle that are dark. You know, the days are short, they're cold, the earth is cold, like the ground itself is just cold because the sun is not there to warm it. And through this time we turn inward. The energy, just as the goddess turns inward to finish, you know, preparing for new life, we also, our energy turns inward. Now, for those who are very connected and in tune with the seasons and the cycles, this feels very natural. You just get to this time of year, I want to finish all my projects. I just want to be done. And if they're not done, that's okay. I just set them down. We'll get back to them later when it's time to start again. I often feel very creative. I want to draw or bead, doing a lot of crocheting lately, and just like create something small and easy to work on, and just kind of bring that energy down and do more reflection. Really think about the reason I'm feeling these things, or the reason I don't want to do things, or what is it that is motivating me to do whatever it is that I'm doing. To take in the information that I've gotten all year from everybody else, and that I'm, you know, going in too many directions, and you know, kind of just process all of this information and move forward with it productively, so that I, you know, you're not stuck in these cycles. There were many years where I felt like I was literally chasing my tail, not just like spiritually and magically as a person, and emotionally, in my work, in my life. And I was just running circles because I wasn't stopping and thinking, like, hey, okay, here's what you've learned, here's what you want, and how are we, where is this coming together? And once you begin to do that, you find that more and more of your goals begin to align. More things begin to happen productively. You can move forward. You know, it's so funny. I spent 13 years trying to build a community and do these great things and be productive and, you know, build this network for the pagan community. And literally every year, we as a coven would come together and be like, okay, well, I feel like we're still doing the same thing over and over and over again. We are just literally chasing our tail. We are not moving forward. What are the things that we need to do in order to move forward? And we just, I mean, in reality, kept doing the same thing in circles. And it really took stepping back away and doing some hard reflection and seeing, like, oh my goodness, okay, now I am seeing this pattern. I'm seeing patterns in our relationships. I'm seeing pattern in our business. I'm seeing patterns in our magic, and I'm seeing how they are kind of coming together. And what are we going to do to fix these problems? Unfortunately, those in that group, we could not. When we all stepped back to reflect, and then we came back to the table, we all had very different perspectives on what happened, what was gonna happen, and what should happen, what was happening right in that moment. And that's the interesting thing about perspective. As we go through this introspective journey, we're going to talk a lot about perspective, because I think it's really important. It, you know, your perspective is what makes your reality. I had a conversation with my kids the other day. They said, Mom, this isn't fair. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to try to make things fair. Life is not fair. We each have our own reality based on our perspective of where we sit in influence from the experiences that we've had and the information that we have, and it creates our perspective. And this is the reality that we see. And your reality is going to be different than the person's next to you, because they have different experiences and different perspective. Even twins, however, they have very similar perspectives, still have different favorite colors and different favorite things, and they just have different perspectives. They're like, this thing is better than that thing. Because we each are our own individual. I know this goes against like everything we've taught. You know, you are not the center of your universe, but in your reality, You are the center of your universe. You see everything from your own space, and no one can sit in your space. Someday I'm going to come up with a spell that is the sit in my space spell for a day, and you can invite someone to sit in your space for a whole day and see the world through your perspective. Because it's not the same if they sit on your shoulder or they follow you around all day, because they're still seeing it through their perspective. And however it can be helpful, they say walk a mile in someone else's shoes so that you can see a perspective, but you have to walk the whole mile. And no, we don't have time or energy or all the things to do that. So it's not really a realistic thing. So you are the center of your reality. You see the world from your perspective. You are the only person who can control where that perspective goes. So it's going to come up a lot during this introspective journey. And as we travel through this dark time and turn inward and really think about where is our perspective? What are we thinking about? What is it that is motivating me and driving me? And what am I seeing? And what am I not seeing? Because often when we see things through our perspective, we're not seeing the grander thing. You live in this focused world where you're like, this is my reality. And if someone else opens that up, and you can kind of open your perspective or have the willingness and ability to see things from a different perspective, it can really help you to make the changes you need to make. Like I said, after 13 years and we all stepped back and then came back to the table and we're like, wow, we all have really different perspectives to the point where we couldn't even all be friends anymore. That's a big deal. That's a big change in perspective. But then coming out of that and making those realizations and seeing my own mistakes and trying to see it from the perspective of others and getting advice from other people and actually listening to that and hearing other people's perspectives who are looking in and seeing, you get a grander picture, you get a bigger image. And so that's really the whole point of these introspective journeys, is to be able to see that bigger picture so that you can make the better choices, so that you can get out of the cycles that you're stuck in, so that you can move forward and make progress and become closer to that ideal person that you want to be, so that you can be happy and healthy and successful and no longer look at like, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. But no, my grass is beautiful and green and I love it and I am just enjoying life. And so today is the first day of that introspective journey. Luckily, this question is a really straightforward question and there's not like a lot to talk about, which is funny because I was making notes and I was like, what am I going to talk about? This is such an easy one. But I've already talked for 28 minutes about all these other things leading up to this. So that's okay. It's important that we honor our ancestors, we connect with the energy that is around us, and that we, prepare ourselves for this introspective journey. It's important, know that you have the support of this ancestral energy. That's another reason. So the god and the goddess and that divine energy is kind of stepped back right now. But it's our ancestors who step forward to help guide us through these moments. It's their wisdom, it's their, work and lessons. And so you can reach back to them and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Is this something that you struggled with? And they can share that information with you. So there's lots of different ways to communicate with them: free writing, doing cards, scrying, pendulum, Ouija boards. There's all different kinds of ways. And dream work is really productive for me personally. And so if I have a question, I just think about it as I'm going to sleep. And when I wake up in the morning, 9 times out of 10, there will be and it's not, I just connect with that energy a lot. So it makes it easy for me to access. If you want to access that energy more easily, you have to just connect with it. I'm constantly reminded by my ancestors of how easy I have it because I have a shovel, I have a lawnmower, I have modern tools to help me do these things that they would have used sticks and rocks and, had to have made the tools. And I go back deep. So I keep those things in mind. And so, as you work with things throughout the day, you connect with those energies, they will be easier to access. There's a hoodoo practitioner that I watch. She's amazing, but she makes coffee for her ancestors every day and walks around the house and gives every single one of them coffee. And it's really cute because her partner, he then later goes around the house and collects all the coffee cups and cleans them. Um, it's just really cute. And they make these offerings and they connect with them all the time. So when she needs an answer, it's very easy for her to access that information. So honor your ancestors, turn inward. Let's talk about our introspective journey. So I do have to make one little pitch. We have our new introspective journey book out. It is very nice. I like these matte covers. The pages are nice to write on. I just use a ballpoint pen, so it's easy. And just like before, it is 51 questions and space to write in there. We'll go through each one. The journals are really left open. My goal is not to tell you what to think or how to feel or how to answer these questions. It is for you to just answer the questions and to think about it yourself. And then, if you come to a question and you're like, ooh, I answered this question really interestingly, or I don't know, then that's something that maybe you should go out and research with a licensed trained professional. There are great psychologists and psychiatrists and all of those people who can really help with specific things like coping mechanisms and destructive behaviors and OCD. And we're going to, the goal is for you to help to identify those things. Your introspective journey is not solving the problems. It's about recognizing the problems, seeing what tools that you already have, and seeing what you need to do to move forward and making those goals. So don't envision these days as I'm going to come out on Yule and it's going to be like, ta-ding, I'm the perfect person. Because that's what's happening. I mean, it could. That would be amazing. Let me know in the comments below if that happens to you. So, like I said, the first question for today is really simple. What always makes you feel better? We get stuck in these ruts of emotional feelings. My kids have been particularly disrespectful lately, and so it has been a rough couple weeks. We actually didn't go to the pumpkin patch because they have been so disrespectful. We just had to put our foot down and be like, nope, this sucks, but we have to do something to change this behavior. So there has to be some serious consequences. And that was it. So, but it has gotten me into this like, just irritated all the time. Like, but what do you do to get better about that? So for me, I listen to music. Listening to music really loud, dancing around, singing, just enjoying music always puts me in a better mood. Doesn't matter how upset I am, because it will either help me cry it out, it will help me be angry and get it out. I have a whole playlist on YouTube called FU, and that's all the songs. That's all they say pretty much. It's like a really angry playlist. But if I'm really angry and I'm just mad about something, I can listen to it. When I'm done, I'm done. And I can just move forward. Too often, we look for external people or solutions or something to make us feel better. In reality, this is another thing you're going to hear me say a lot. You are the only person who can control your reaction to a situation. How do you want to react? And that includes your feelings, how you want to feel. And so this is, again, about your perspective. If you see a situation, like my kids being disrespectful and it just automatically puts me in a poopy mood, how do I want to feel? Well, I don't want to feel crappy all day because my kids did not listen and we were late for school because they want to dance up and down the stairs for 20 minutes. There are some things that are really frustrating, but I don't want to be mad all day. So how do I change that? Well, the only way I'm going to change my feelings is if I choose to change my feelings. And so I listen to some music. Some people, they go for a run. Some people go shopping. I don't know. There are all different ways. Working in my garden, pulling weeds is actually really resetting for me. It helps me to just reset, connect with the earth's energy, feel really grounded and calm, and be ready. Bird watching, I love bird watching. Um, just little things that make you feel better. And so that you can adjust that and you go back to that energy and then you can move forward. Unfortunately, you do see sometimes people are like, what always makes me feel better? Getting high, getting drunk, going and doing something destructive. And that's when we need to step back and we really need to think about it. As someone who smokes, I know I have that. That is definitely, being stressed out is a trigger for me. Go smoke, I'll feel better. But I know in my brain, I know in reality that it's not making anything better. It's just, I really enjoy it. So I told my midwife, she said, well, I only have like one cigarette a week while I'm pregnant. This was my third pregnancy. I did much better with my first one. My second one, I was really pretty good with. My third one, it was like once a week I would have a cigarette. I was like, but that's like the only thing that I do for myself to like step away from taking care of everything else and working and everything is to go out. She's like, well, you need to find a better way to reward yourself. So if you are rewarding yourself with self-destructive behaviors, think about a different way to reward yourself. So that's where what always makes you feel better. Because smoking cigarettes does not always make me feel better. Actually, sometimes it hurts my chest and it makes me have a cough, and there are consequences that come along with it. But listening to music, not destructive to anybody, very productive, very helpful. And so there are ways to get out and find something that is very productive, very good for you that you can do. So think about not just the one thing, but all of the things that you do and which one of those is the one that always works, doesn't have any negative repercussions. And then, begin to build that list of tools you have in order to feel better, to change your mindset, to get out of these cycles and focus on something positive and feel better. So, I hope that everybody is enjoying their Samhain. Sorry that kind of turned out long. It's clearly, I need to make more videos. There's a lot to say. My spirit guides have been communicating a lot lately, and I had all these card readings in order to do this vetting process to be a part of the Denver Witches Ball, and they all told me the same thing in one way or the other. That was just very funny. So I'm hoping that through my introspective journey, I can make these changes and we can all do this together and we can come out the other side. And as the tarot card said, I can step into my Empress role. Just so funny. But we'll see how this goes. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. As always, I hope that you are enjoying yourself and that you had a great Samhain. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And we will talk to you all very soon. Many blessings. Toast, it's freezing.